Welcome back, everybody. It's Friday.
The best day of the week.
Dominic Sully.
Noah Baker.
We are here for the fifth time in, I think, a week now.
Yes. They've probably heard enough of us, but we're here again.
And we're here to preview
This is the one.
the first pay-per-view of 2021.
Yeah.
And what will also probably end up being one of the biggest pay-per-views of 2021. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm nervous. I've never been more nervous to record an episode.
I think I'm getting similar feelings of this one that I got for...
Our very first?
I was going to say for the first pay-per-view breakdown.
With Stipe
and DC.
DC, yeah.
That one just felt like a big deal, and this one's giving me similar butterflies, right?
Because in the main event, we have Dustin, the Diamond Poirier, the number 2 ranked UFC lightweight in the world, versus the notorious Conor McGregor, the number 4 ranked lightweight contender in the world, former 2-division world champ. This is going to be a big historical pay-per-view, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, what a way to kind of just bust into 2021, right?
Yeah, and what a way to cap off the third stint of Fight Island.
Yeah.
You know, the third event in a week, and I mean, it's Conor. Hello.
Yeah.
By the way, the rest of the main card is very good. Of course, we'll get into that later. But it's Conor, Dustin. And the debut of Michael Chandler. It's a big deal.
It's a big deal. Overall, doing well, though?
Yes, I am doing well. I guess I forgot to answer that question. Yourself?
Yeah, doing good. Just very excited to... Saturday is a big deal in many ways for me.
Yeah, let them know.
Not only do I get to watch this fantastic pay-per-view with some of my best friends, I also am getting my first tattoo on Saturday.
It is a very epic day.
Yeah, so I'll be getting my first tattoo at about noon.
And watching fights at 7.
Yes, I will. And I just want to, I gotta mess with you a little bit here, because
I'm just looking out for
me and Dominic are two guys that we do not have tattoos. My dad has a few, so I've at least, like, I know a little bit about him. And I watch Ink Master, and obviously that show has taught me so much.
It taught you how to do it all.
Yeah.
You know?
When I told Dominic, when I reminded him, I should say, that I was getting it before we went and watched this pay-per-view, he asked me if I was still going to be able to drive.
It's on the leg.
It is on
It's
the
on
leg.
your pedal foot, pedal leg, gas brake leg. Look, man, I'm just looking out for you.
It was very sweet.
Because Noah's the one that usually drives to the pay-per-view endeavors, wherever they may be.
No, this is a good point. However, it's just so funny to me that you thought I was going to be, like, incapacitated. I just had to look. It was very kind of you looking out for your friend. You know, really appreciate it.
I'll try my best.
But also just had to expose you a bit.
That's fine.
However,
let's get into it. You know,
let's just do it, right?
Well, I guess we have one thing to mention first.
First,
one little thing
before we get into the breakdown. It's time for the news.
The news, very small, but we finally have some after 2 episodes without.
Yes.
One quick bullet point.
Precisely. We really just have one thing to talk about, so. This is a follow-up from the card we talked about last Friday and then earlier this week on Monday. The Holloway versus Cater card. That was the UFC's debut on ABC Network.
Turns out it did pretty damn good.
Did pretty damn good. At its peak, it reached 1.6 million viewers. Mind you, that's while NFL playoffs are happening.
This is true. Yeah.
What a big deal. And I think that just further proves what our sentiment after the card is that UFC is going to be making a few more appearances on ABC, I think, in the future.
100%. With that 1.6 million number, that fight night main event, so Holloway Cater became the second most viewed fight night main event since 2019. Mm-hmm. So a big deal. And then another semicolon off of that bullet point, or semi-bullet point. I don't know what the terminology is.
Okay.
The UFC 257 countdown, so the Poirier-McGregor 2 countdown that always goes up on YouTube, but of course airs on one of the ESPN channels as well, was the most viewed UFC countdown telecast in the last 10 years.
Wow. I had no idea.
So the big ABC/ESPN partnership, obviously ESPN's been with UFC since 2019 now, but it just continues to grow with these two statistics here. So.
Yeah. Just wanted to make note of that because I'm just happy to see Max and Cater
get that. The ABC deal is a huge thing. 1.6 million. It's unquestionable now they will be back on ABC for sure.
So, yeah, besides that is all.
That is it.
For the news.
The news. Oh, that means it's time to do this, and I'm not ready.
It is time to break down some fights. But first, before we get into our thoughts on UFC 257, we have a little pinch of something here. A little something for you.
Yeah.
Cooking up in the kitchen. Yeah. We have our very first voice message, Dom.
Very first. And we've been hitting it hard so far in 2021. This is the thing we want to get really out there, grow the community, get these voice messages in, interact with all you fans out there, and we have one.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. So before we get into our thoughts, we want to hear your thoughts. And that's going to lead us into none other than our good friend, Tyler, to give his thoughts about the co-main and main event of UFC 257. Take it away, Tyler.
Oh, welcome back, everybody. I've wanted to do that for all 60 episodes, or 61 or 62, whatever you guys are on. Tyler here, very loyal listener and viewer, and so I wanted to go ahead and give my thoughts on the upcoming UFC 257 McGregor versus Poirier 2. Obviously, lots of good fights on this main card, some I'm more familiar with than others. Most excited, I would say, for the main and the co-main. As far as the co-main, I've got some faith in Michael Chandler to make a big example out of Dan Hooker. Might be a hot take, but that's what I think is going to happen with that one. Michael Chandler, I think, is going to rise quickly. And as far as the main event, you know what it is. Mystic Mac predicts knockout in under 60 seconds. I love Dustin, but I got Conor coming back. The king is back, baby.
Tyler, thank you so much for giving your thoughts. We just really appreciate that. It doesn't surprise me that it was him.
Not at all.
Tyler loves to be, first. He loves to be that guy, and really just shows what a great friend you are to support us. You've been watching us for such a long time now, and
day one.
Yeah, we want to repay that favor a little bit. So I just want to give a quick plug.
Oh, of course.
To what Tyler's doing in his life. He just recently got married.
A lot of big things.
Shout out to Kelsey,
yes.
Your lovely wife, who's also a friend of mine. Great people. Tyler is actually an independent author.
Yes, and a good one.
And a good one at that. So he has got a few different books that you can check out now. If you go to his website, Tyler Porter Books, that's Tyler Porter, Porter, books.com. You can check out all the selection he has of his books. He's also got a new standalone book coming in.
I'm looking forward to that one.
His specialty is thrillers.
Oh, yeah.
And you know that feeling you get, Dom, when you just get that little something, your heart starts beating so fast.
It's like when this main event's going to start.
Yeah, your hands start shaking.
Yeah.
You start getting all sweaty.
Knees weak, arms are heavy.
Exactly. That's what Tyler's books do to you.
Unbelievable.
So check out his website. There's a lot more detail on there. If you're interested in if you become a fan of Tyler Porter's books,
let us know.
Let us know. We'll put you in a little Facebook group for his avid fans.
Yes.
But much respect to you, Tyler, for all you do. I don't know how you write books as often as you do. I'm not.
He's the Hamzat Chimaev of the books.
Yeah. Truthfully, I've never been much of a reader, and even I can say that his stuff's good.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm glad that I could say that because I didn't want to look him in the face and say your books suck. So I was really happy when I could say, you know what, it was good.
Yes.
And yeah, so if you guys are a fan of reading, or even if you're not, check it out because I think he could open you up to maybe some new avenues that you might have thought you wouldn't be interested in.
And a great guy to be supporting.
Of course, support your independent authors.
Right.
Support your independent artists. Right.
Yeah.
So thank you, Tyler.
You're the man.
Yep.
Mystic P, as he likes to be called.
Mystic P. However,
it's our turn.
It's our turn
Tyler,
to take over.
Tyler,
back. Sit down for a second.
Sit down.
It's our turn to break down this main card for UFC 257. Woo! We got 5 fights to talk about here. And I'm going to tell you, I'm just going to go through the card.
Yep, go through it.
So we open our night. Women's strawweight. Now, all these are main card fights, let me be clear. So you got to buy a pay-per-view to watch any of these.
Right.
However, there are some great fights on the prelims.
There are.
Khalil Roundtree versus Marcin Prokhnio is the one that sticks out to me. And right after that, Juliana Pena versus Sarah McMahon.
I'm very much looking forward to that.
Also, Brad Tavares versus Antonio Carlos Jr. And the headline of the prelims, Nasrat Haqparast versus Arman Saryukin. Those are all fantastic fights. We were very tempted to just break them all down, but we were like, okay. We have very big fights to talk about, so we don't want to be here all day. You know? So 5 fights we're talking about. Our main card starts at women's strawweight. Marina Rodriguez versus Amanda Ribas. This is definitely, these are 2 women that they're prospects, but they're very much reaching. They're hitting their stride. Right? They're starting to really establish themselves as. They're kind of shedding that prospect mold and really embracing just being either stars or just established veterans almost in a way, especially for someone like Marina who's 33 already.
Yeah, and still looked at as a prospect, you know.
Yeah,
this is someone, by the way, Marina Rodriguez didn't even begin fighting professionally until 2015. Didn't make her debut in the UFC until 2018.
Yeah.
That's why she's very much still looked at as a prospect in my eyes.
This next fight, though, definitely fits that mold just the same. At lightweight, Matt Frevola, the ground specialist, going up against Otman Azaitar.
We've broken him down before.
Yes, we have. When he fought Kama Worthy.
Yes, yeah.
Otman's been he was very under. I think he was a little underappreciated in 2020 for what he was doing, but here on a main card, on a Conor McGregor card, he's got a chance to shine brightest. After that, women's flyweight. That's right, you get 2 women's fights on this main card.
Yes.
Jessica I. Shout out OH.
I.O.
Going up against Joanne Calderwood.
Also, big fan of JoJo.
This is a big fight. Joanne, her last fight was a title eliminator.
Yeah, she chose to not wait for Valentina, instead take a fight, and ended up losing that fight to Jennifer Maia. So.
And while Jessica I fought for the belt way back at, I want to say, UFC 238?
Yeah. When Valentina kicked her head off of her shoulders.
Was that the card? Was it the Cejudo Moraes card?
Yes, that was the headliner.
Yeah. So UFC 238, she got head kicked into... She got sent to the Netherrealm.
Yes.
However, she's back here. She's had some physical ailments that have been holding her back with her gallbladder, so hopefully that's all past her now. But this is a big fight. Both women looking to reestablish themselves at the top of the division.
Both top 10.
And looking forward to that one. Co-main event.
Oh, boy.
Next 2 are at lightweight.
Oh, boy.
Dan Hooker versus the debuting Michael Chandler. Mr. Bellator, as I've been kind of coining him as in this podcast. What a tough fight for Michael Chandler. And really, you could say the same for Dan Hooker.
Yeah.
I mean, for both these guys, I feel like where their strengths lie is very much... If you have to point a weakness out in Dan Hooker or in Michael Chandler, it is like their weakness. So I feel like it's kind of perfect matchmaking in that way. There's a lot unknown about Michael Chandler, about how good can he really be in the UFC, considering he spent most of his career in Bellator. And not that, we just haven't seen this much. A guy who spent so long in Bellator coming over to prove himself, still in his physical prime, I would say.
This is true, 32.
So there's a lot that's going to be answered here, including with these promotions. Michael Chandler was fighting for belts up until the time he left. If he comes over here and gets stomped, like, no disrespect, but how Ben Askren did, you might still, it's like, okay,
we know
further cements Bellator as a B-tier organization. But if he comes over here, starches Dan Hooker.
Exactly.
What that can do for that promotion and what that can do for Michael Chandler, it's a lot.
Oh, 100%.
And our main event.
Nah.
It's the rematch 6 years in the making. It's pressure makes diamonds. Dustin Poirier taking on the notorious Conor McGregor. What a main event. No belt on the line, but it doesn't matter. This is legacy.
Yeah, it is, man. And just for the lightweight division right now, it is on fire. As if it isn't already every other time of the year. Right now, especially with the co-main and this, with all the things up in the air about Habib This is just massive. Massive main event here.
The lightweight division's getting center stage here. Not only with the main and co-main, but you get a couple of prospect fights with Frevola Azaitar and Haqparast Saryukin.
Yep.
So, without further ado, let's just get into it here. We opened the card. Marina Rodriguez, Amanda Ribas. First, actually, I'm going to plug...
you're too kind.
So, as I've mentioned before, Dominic is now in the MMA elite.
I hate when you say that.
I just say it to fuck with him. He is, it's a big deal, though. He's a writer now for Overtime Heroics. You can check them out on Twitter, really anywhere, social media.
Yep.
They've been posting his article around that he just wrote for previewing this fight.
Shout out Amanda Ribas, by the way. Yeah. She liked the tweet.
Yeah, there you go.
Pulled at the heartstrings a little.
Marina saw it and said, fuck you. And
Probably. Marina, it's nothing personal.
However, check that out. You probably will, if you even go to our Twitters, you'll probably see we've shared it, I believe.
It's been retweeted, yeah.
So just get on Overtime Heroics, support them. They're still trying to make a name for themselves in the MMA community, but Dominic doing big things for him. He had the choice.
Yeah.
He could have broke down Poirier McGregor, and he chose this fight. So go ahead and show him why.
I'm going to tell him why right here. Number 8, Marina Rodriguez. Number 10, Amanda Ribas. Marina Rodriguez is 12-1-2, 5 KO TKOs, 1 submission. She's 2-1-2 in the UFC. She has a TKO victory on Dana White's Contender Series, Brazil. That was back in August of 2018, which got her into the UFC, her debut happening in September that year. She's got notable wins against Jessica Aguilar. That was March 20th of 2019. That was a unanimous decision. Also a unanimous decision victory over Tisha Torres. The lone loss on her record was to the very first women's strawweight champion, Carla Esparza. That was back this past summer on Fight Island in a very close split decision. And then now I mentioned 2 draws, which is, you don't see many people have 2 draws on their record in general, but to have 2 draws in the UFC, even more rare. The first draw was her UFC debut. That was against Randa Marcos, who was ranked 13th at the time. And then she fought Cynthia Calvillo, which happened to be Cynthia's very last fight at strawweight before moving up to 125. So those are her 2 draws on her record, but by no means should you sleep on Marina Rodriguez. She's an absolute beast. Blue corner, Amanda Ribas, number 10 in the division, a 10-1 record, 3 KO TKOs, 4 submissions, undefeated in the UFC at 4-0. MMA debut, or UFC debut, I should say, over Emily Whitmire, defeated her via submission. Gave Mackenzie Dern her very first professional loss. That was via unanimous decision in a fantastic fight, may I add. Defeated Randa Marcos. That was via unanimous decision. And then also, this past July, on Fight Island, submitted Paige Van Zandt with a nasty armbar. Her only professional loss was at Jungle Fight 83 back in 2015. And that was against Poliana Viana, who's actually in the UFC and is 2-3 in her endeavors so far. This is a great fight. This is a very important fight to see who is going to take that next step. Who's going to get top 5 in their next bout. One of these women, and I stand firmly on this, could very well be challenging for the title by the end of 2021.
That's a great way to put it, yeah. The star potential of Amanda Ribas is very well documented at this point. But just in case you don't know, she became basically a star after her performance over Paige Van Zandt at UFC 251.
Yep.
That was the very first Fight Island pay-per-view, the very first card on Fight Island.
And again, first fight on the main card.
Yeah, first fight on the main card. She got a really slick armbar finish over a big name in women's MMA.
The biggest name on her record.
Yeah, and she did it pretty easily. She was very all smiles in the post-fight.
By the way, that was at 125 pounds. Keep that in mind for later on in her career.
So, right. And after that, like the post-fight, just everything, people just
her personality.
People really bought into her.
Yeah.
Marina has had much of a just more under the radar.
Under the radar, yeah.
Her biggest fight being that fight with Esparza, which she showed some great striking, and that's going to be kind of her bread and butter here. However, her takedown defense was
there's a problem.
Very, it made me a little worried for
in the 2 draws she has with Marcos and Calvillo. Yeah. Both of those were draws because there was a 10-8 round against her, and they were both rounds where she got dominated on the ground.
Now Esparza is one of the best wrestlers in the division. However, she's going up against Amanda Ribas, who
is about as well-rounded as they come. But if we're talking jiu-jitsu,
she's super well-rounded.
Yeah.
However, her strength
in this fight particularly will be to get Marina to the ground, 100%.
While Marina does have an advantage on the feet.
Yeah, Muay Thai is second to none.
But I'll keep this simple. Marina has more holes in her game than Amanda does, at least from what I've seen so far. I've seen Amanda strike a little bit, and she looks competent. She looks comfortable on the feet. Exactly. I wouldn't call her like, some amazing striker.
Right.
But she does have 3 knockout wins, and 4 submission wins. So it's not like she's overwhelmingly a jiu-jitsu fighter. Marina, 5 wins via TKO, KO, and 1 win via submission. The takedown defense is just too worrisome to me. And maybe I would assume she's been working on it, but this is a very tough task to take on when you're still working on some of those kinks. I'm going Amanda Ribas, and I'm going via decision.
I am doing the same thing. Amanda Ribas here, via decision. This should be a very fun fight, interesting fight, and it really comes down to, we feel that Amanda is good enough on the feet to not get overwhelmed or just dominated, because the wins that Marina has, she dominates on the feet. It's not even close. But Amanda, I feel, can compete. But if you look at it the other way, if Amanda can get Marina to the ground, I don't feel Marina can compete on the floor. And that's where the biggest difference is going to come in here, and that's why I'm going with Amanda Ribas.
Yeah, I think if Amanda truly has a hard time getting Marina down,
it could be interesting.
It could be a very even fight, or even Marina could really have the advantage there. However, she just hasn't shown a strong ability to prevent those takedowns. And with Amanda, who shows so much promise and is shown to be so good at getting that fight to where she wants it to go, I definitely look for this to be spent a lot of time on the ground.
Yeah, I
Next
agree.
fight, lightweight, Matt Frevola, Otman Azaitar.
We've had an undefeated fighter here now.
Yes,
We've got Otman Azaitar, 13-0 with 10 KO TKOs, 2 submissions. That's 12 out of 13 via finish. 2-0 in the UFC with a notable win against Kamaworthy, who we were big on when we broke down that fight.
I even picked Kamaworthy to win that fight.
And he beat him via TKO. 10 of those 12 finishes came in round number 1. For Matt Frevola, he's 8-1, 1 KO TKO, 3 submissions. He's 3-1-1 in the UFC. One of those wins coming on the Contender Series. He also has wins over Jalen, the Tarantula Turner. That was a unanimous decision. And a split decision over Luis Pena. The draw on his record in the UFC came to Lando Venata, who is no slouch by any means. And 3 out of his 4 finishes have also came in the first round. This may be fun, Noah. This is going to be a fun one. However, we like undefeated fighters, don't we?
We do. We do definitely have an inkling for him, don't we?
And I'm going to stick with the undefeated fighter here. And I'm going with the power. I'm going a first-round KO TKO, Otman Azaitar. He's really just shown a lot. His one-punch KO back at the UFC 242 Habib and Dustin card in Abu Dhabi, one-punched a guy, and he literally face-planted onto the canvas. It was actually hard to watch.
That he did. And he pretty much ran through Kamaworthy like he was nothing.
Yeah, it's been easy.
And that was a Kamaworthy who had been surging up to that point, completely just basically being like the biggest underdog in all these fights and still coming out on top.
Just a bully, man.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the same prediction. Azaitar via first round TKO or KO. Frevola, he's only got the one loss. He's had a very good go of things. That one loss, though, to Polo Reyes, a 1-minute KO.
Right.
It definitely when both these guys have shown such few weaknesses, or they've just had such few fights where they've lost, you almost have to put a larger emphasis on fights that you normally wouldn't. A lot of times, the guy's only lost one time. It was a first-round knockout. I'd be like, oh, okay, it happens. He got caught. But Azaitar has looked incredible, and right now he looks like he's still getting better and better.
Yeah.
His last 3 fights, none of them going past, I think, 2 minutes.
Scary dude.
He's scary on the feet, and I just don't quite have the confidence in Frevola to get the fight there in enough time. I think he's going to really work for those takedowns, but it could leave him open to some huge shots from Azetar, and I don't see Frevola being able to take many of them. And, that's why I'm going first round. TKO or KO.
That has potential to be a banger. But
I agree.
Azetar, man, scary dude.
I definitely agree with that. I think this fight could, if it's able to get out of the first round, I could totally see this just being fight of the night type material. However, if it's not able to get out of there like we're predicting, I'm not quite going to predict it to be fight of the night. Moving on, women's flyweight. Yes, Jessica Eye, Joanne Calderwood.
Now, this is number 6 versus number 7 here, so another big fight in this division, similar to the strawweight, opening the card with Marina and Amanda. Jessica Evil Eye from Ohio, I have to give her a shout-out. She's 15-8, 3 KO TKOs, 1 submission. She's 5-7 with 1 no contest in the UFC, but she has fought top-tier competition throughout. She's got wins over Leslie Smith via TKO, unanimous decisions over Jessica Rose Clark and Viviane Araújo, who we just broke down and beat Roxanne on the Wednesday card. That's a big win, and that was following her loss to Valentina, so that's a very good bounce back. And then also has a split decision over Caitlin Chookagian, former title challenger. She's got losses to Alexis Davis via split decision, lost to Miesha Tate via unanimous decision, Juliana Pena decision, Sarah McMahon, who is fighting on the prelims, as Noah mentioned, that's also a decision. Lost to Betch Correia in Cleveland at UFC 203, the fight that we attended. That was via split decision in a fight we both agree. We thought Jessica won, and so did the Ohio crowd, let me tell you. Also got KO'd in her title bout with Valentina Shevchenko with a nasty head kick. And then in her most recent bout, which was a main event, back when the UFC kind of got the ball rolling again from all the COVID stuff, she lost a decision to Cynthia Calvillo in her flyweight debut. Other end of the octagon, Joanne Calderwood, 14 wins, 5 losses, 5 KO TKOs, 1 submission. She's 6-5 in the UFC. Wins over Courtney Casey via decision. Valerie Letourneau, if you haven't heard of her, that's a former title challenger, by the way, and she TKO'd her. She got a decision win over Ariane Lipski and a split decision over Andrea Lee. She's got losses to Jessica Andrade in another fight that we saw in Cleveland at UFC 203.
True.
Noah's got a great story about that one. Hopefully he doesn't tell it.
Go check out that episode. We did an episode on our trip to UFC 203 in Cleveland. It's in there. Go watch it. No, go ahead.
I do want them to listen to it, so I guess go ahead and watch it. Anyway, Andrade, that was via submission. Also lost to Cynthia Calvillo via decision. Lost to Caitlin Chookagian, and then in her most recent fight, as Noah mentioned, lost via submission to Jennifer Maia, who just challenged Valentina for the strap. Joanne has 4 first-round finishes out of those 6 total that she's got on her record.
Let me pose a question to you here.
Okay.
Before we start making rash calls here.
Right.
With these 2 women, where do you see the advantages at here for either girl?
Jessica in the striking, JoJo on the ground.
See, that's funny because I kind of agree with you.
But neither are weak in
But the thing is, JoJo
strength.
I feel like she has an underrated ground game because I always feel like it's good, but she only has 1 win via submission.
True. Yeah.
Now, it's not all about finishing the fight on the ground. That control is a big thing. I'm not even... This is going to get into what I'm going to call here. I actually am going to go Joanne Calderwood via second round submission.
Ooh, really?
Truthfully, it's not all fair. I really do hope Jessica Eye is healthy and doing well and it comes back better than ever. However, those health concerns with her gallbladder, that really put her out
long
for
layoff.
All of 2020 pretty much, besides that main event loss to Calvillo. She didn't look particularly good in that fight. Really after that's where a lot of these struggles for her have came into play. It seems like a pretty quick comeback considering we were just hearing about a lot of this issues with her gallbladder just a couple months ago.
They were serious too, yeah.
Just a couple months ago they were talking about it. And here she is back here. I worry that that's going to compromise her too much And I don't think that her advantage in the striking is much. While I think Calderwood has a pretty significant...
It's kind of like the same with
Marina
and Amanda.
It's definitely similar. I just think that her possibly just not being the same fighter coming into this one that we've seen from her in the past, I think she's going to get kind of bullied by JoJo here, and I think she's going to get finished second round submission.
Yeah, I think JoJo has a lot to prove coming off that. Again, she did not have to take that fight with Jennifer Maia. She was going to fight for the title and chose to fight and came up on the short end of the stick. But I think she's got a lot to prove here to prove she still can earn that title shot. Not that Jessica doesn't have a lot to prove, but I just feel like it's going to edge in JoJo's favor. She's going to be the aggressor, in my opinion. I think she's going to look to make a statement. However, Jessica's tough. And for that reason, I'm going to go JoJo Calderwood via decision. Mm-hmm. She's going to drag it out, get it at the 3 rounds. So.
And we've talked about on this podcast, typically when it comes to women's MMA, as great as it is, though I don't want people to think this is a slight on it, the finishing rate for women's fights is lower than for men. And you've probably, I don't know if anybody's noticed, we call a lot of decisions in women's fights. That might be one of the first women's fights that I predicted a finish for.
Really?
I'm pretty sure it's one of the first. It might be the first, but I didn't want to say that.
Someone's going to have to go through the library and fact check.
Tyler, dig through it for me. Because it might be hyperbole, but I wanted to still throw that out there that's how confident I am in JoJo in this fight. And that could blow up in my face, but I put myself out there like that.
I respect it.
Yeah, so on to the co-main event of the evening.
The lightweights have arrived.
Dan Hooker, coming off that war over the summer.
One of the Fight of the Year candidates.
It was one of our Fight of the Year nominees for our BAJ award show.
Be sure to check that out as well.
He's back, and he's welcoming Michael Chandler to the UFC.
He's taking a risk by doing this.
Both guys, I feel
That's
like, are.
True,
I think the bigger risk is actually on Chandler here. But anyways, I'm going to let you go ahead and do your breakdown before I get into this fight.
So being that, Dan Hooker is going to be in the red corner. Typically, I read red corner to blue corner. However, with Chandler making his debut, I figure we talk about Michael Chandler first.
Cool.
Mr. Mike Chandler, Mr. Bellator, as Noah likes to call him, is coming in, making his UFC debut with a record of 21 wins, 5 losses, 9 KO TKOs, 7 submissions. That's 16 out of 21 via finish. As I said, it's his UFC debut, so no record to go off of here. Notable wins, Eddie Alvarez via submission. That was way back in one of the Fight of the Years that year. He beat Patricky for... I don't know how to say the Pitbull's last name.
Just say Pitbull.
I'm just going to say Patricky Pitbull then. He's beat him twice, once via unanimous decision, once via KO. He's beaten Benson Henderson, former UFC champion, twice, once via split decision, once via KO. He's beaten Goiti Yamauchi via unanimous decision. That was in a title defense. He's beaten Brent Primus via unanimous decision. That is the lone loss on Mr. Brent's record, by the way. Mm-hmm. And he has beaten Sidney Outlaw, which is a badass name. And at the time, by the way, that was via KO. Sidney was on a 9-fight win streak going into that fight. Notable losses. He's also lost to Eddie Alvarez. That was a split decision. Has been beaten by Will Brooks twice. Once via split, and then once via TKO. Got beat by Brent Primus, so they're split at 1-1. That was via TKO. And then lost to Patricky's brother, Patricio Pitbull. That was via TKO, and he lost his title over there at Bellator for the last time. Some more nitty-gritty here on Chandler, being that it is his debut. He's got 12 first-round finishes out of those 16. He's a 3-time Bellator lightweight champion with 5 total title defenses. But now it's time for the Hangman.
I think
Mr. Dan Hooker, again, coming off that Fight of the Year candidate with Dustin Poirier last June, I believe. Mm-hmm. He's 20-9, 10 KO TKOs, 7 submissions. He's 10-5 in the UFC. Wins over Ross Pearson via KO. Submission over Mark Diak. I always forget how to say his last name. Jacasey. Thank you. That was via submission. KO'd Jim Miller. KO'd Gilbert Burns, who is now about to challenge Kamaru Usman for the title at welterweight in a little over, 3 weeks' time. KO'd James Vick. a decision win over Ally Quinta, and then a very good fight with Paul Felder that was a split decision. He's lost to Yair Rodriguez via unanimous decision, lost to Jason Knight via unanimous decision, got technically KO'd by Edson Barbosa. That was due to some brutal body work. Oof. And then again, Dustin the Diamond Poirier, who's main eventing tonight or tomorrow's card with Conor McGregor. That was a decision. 12 of those 17 finishes on Dan's record have came in the first round.
Interesting.
This is a banger.
It is.
This is a banger.
So, elephant in the room. Michael Chandler. Being that this is his debut, there's not a ton. I mean, he has a long list of
very good resume
in Bellator, and he's probably one of the best fighters that's ever came through that promotion, especially when you look at the accolades he's got.
He was the face of their promotion
he really
for a
was.
while, you know.
And all respect to him, and Bellator is a very respectful organization. They're not, this isn't the regional circuit or anything. This is definitely the major leagues of MMA.
Oh, yeah.
However, it's always been looked at as like the redheaded stepchild compared to the UFC. It's they're always the B tier compared to the UFC's A tier. And I think the closest thing to proof you can put on that for Michael Chandler, for any of the naysayers to him making his debut here, those 2 losses you mentioned to Will Brooks.
Yeah.
Will Brooks was phenomenal in Bellator.
Yep.
Phenomenal. Obviously beating Michael Chandler. He won the belt from Chandler.
Yeah. Yep.
So basically the first fight he was for the intern belt.
Yeah. Then they unified.
Then they fought again for the vacant belt, which he also won.
That was the second one was the TKO. Yeah.
Then he goes on to win 2 more fights in Bellator, both defending the lightweight championship. One to Dave Jansen, one to Marcin Held, another guy who's fought in the UFC. Then, I don't know if you know this, he goes over to the UFC.
Yeah, Will Brooks as a UFC vet.
And that was a very big get. It was very similar to where Chandler is now.
Yeah.
I don't know if the UFC quite capitalized on it as much as they're doing with Chandler.
Now, what year did he come over?
So that would have been 2016.
Okay.
Those Chandler fights happening in 2014. He comes over, wins his first fight versus Ross Pearson, who, especially at that time, very tough
as
fighter,
nails, man.
via unanimous decision. But then he dropped 3 straight.
Yep.
Alex Oliveira, Charles Oliveira, and Nick Lentz.
Tough run.
All via finish. And then he was cut. So going 1-3 in the UFC, but still close enough to where he beat Michael Chandler pretty handedly for 2 fights.
Yeah.
That's probably, if you're going to be a naysayer, that's probably your biggest piece of evidence right there.
Right.
And that, can Michael Chandler really hang here? But Michael Chandler's also beaten some former UFC title holders.
Yep, multiple times.
Now, I believe the Eddie Alvarez win was before he came to the UFC.
Yeah, that was... Yeah.
While the Benson Henderson win, the first one, was pretty close after he left the promotion. So still beating a really good Benson Henderson. I definitely think Michael Chandler... Here's how I feel in my head. I feel that Michael Chandler is definitely a top 10 lightweight. But I grow less confident when you get to top 5.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he isn't. Because truthfully, Dan Hooker in a way right now is kind of like that gatekeeper for that top 5 level.
Yeah.
Not that Dan Hooker could always end up being a champion.
He just recently
I'm just
got
saying
there.
Right now, he is that gatekeeper in a way. Like, if he beats Dan Hooker, I'm like, okay, you're probably a top 5 guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if he can though. Dan Hooker, when it comes to striking,
he's fantastic.
Damn good. Now
and
Michael Chandler,
damn good takedown defense.
Yeah, Michael Chandler's.
He'll scrap.
Michael Chandler's definitely got the pedigree in wrestling, but he loves a good old fashioned.
Oh yeah, he's coming to fight.
Yeah, he loves a good old fashioned scrap now, and that actually kind of concerns me in this fight. Michael Chandler might be the most athletic guy in this whole promotion at this point.
Yeah,
super athletic freak. He's built like a freaking statue, man. But Chandler's got the height advantage. He's gonna have the reach advantage.
You mean Hooker?
What did I say, Chandler?
Yeah.
Sorry, Hooker.
Hooker's a tall guy. Man.
Hooker's got like 4 or 5 inches of height on him. He's going to have the reach advantage, being that he's going to be looking to keep the fight on the feet. Really, I see this fight going 1 of 2 ways. If Hooker wins, I see it being a stoppage. I see a knockout stoppage. If Chandler wins, I see it being kind of a decision win.
Yeah.
And it just depends on how good is his wrestling. Is he able to get that fight to the ground? Because I really don't think...
He's not going to be able to outstrike.
I don't think so.
He may be able to compete on the feet, but he's not going to be able to outstrike.
If he's going to be, amped up and like, let's go, let's keep it up. I
think he's going to come out aggressive.
Then actually he could catch Hooker off guard. He really could. Because Hooker's usually a very calm fighter. He's not someone that really... He's been in some amazing fights. Really, all of his fights have been awesome.
He can take shots.
But he's not necessarily he's not necessarily a guy that comes out like a bull in a china shop just throwing wild shots. Right. Chandler has that in him.
Yeah.
And that can be a weapon to use against Hooker here, is that just that unpredictability. This is the hardest fight for me to predict. I've gone back and forth.
These last two sucked for me.
I've gone back and forth. I think I'm going to go...
Once it's said, it's said.
I think I'm going to go Michael Chandler via decision. And I think it's going to be my fight of the night.
I have Michael Chandler via decision.
Wow.
I think he's going to come out and try and make a damn statement, man. I think he's going to be very aggressive. And I think he's going to put the pressure on. I think that's where I think he's going to be able to have the edge. Well, he's going to get hit.
He's going to get hit. I think actually...
And he has been KO'd. We know
truthfully,
this.
I think both guys might get dropped in this fight.
Yeah, this is going to be a barn burner of a fight. I think we're going to see 3 just absolute wars. Dan Hooker's never not in a war, and Chandler's had his fair shares of wars while being able to finish. But again, I don't think Hooker can... I don't think Chandler can finish Hooker. He's so damn tough. I mean, if Dustin couldn't knock him out with all those shots, I don't think Chandler can. I'm not saying it is impossible. But I think we're going to see a great war. Maybe even a fight where, it could be a split. Mm-hmm. It could be, Hooker getting 2 judges or 1 judge's scorecards, or winning, 1 round out of the 3 if it's unanimous. It's going to be a good fight. But I think Chandler's going to come in and make a point. I really think he is. But it's not going to be an easy fight.
Do you predict it to be fight of the night?
No.
Interesting.
And if you noticed, I have not picked another one.
Right, exactly.
And we only have 1 fight left.
Yeah, it's a very tough fight to call. I actually was very close to saying Hooker right there. I originally said Chandler, but I was talking it through. Here's why. Hooker, if you go and watch his fight with Gilbert Burns, that was another fight where he had that height advantage, that reach advantage. Gilbert Burns also being super athletic.
And that was before Gilbert obviously made the leap.
He caught Gilbert with some knees and punches to follow him up. And I think that similarly could happen here in this fight with Chandler. I really think that the knees of Hooker could really catch a shorter, stout fighter like Chandler. A guy who's got a natural wrestling stance, so he's already sitting
He will have to be aware of the knees.
So I think the knees are going to be... I think he might get dropped by 1. I don't think he'll quite get finished. I think this fight's going to be a war. It's my fight of the night. But, I'm very interested to see what we get into with this next one, right? We've delayed it long enough. The main event of the evening, the rematch. What did I say? Not 4, not 5. 6 years in the making. Dustin Poirier looks to
shock the world, really.
To shock the world. He looks to just, what's the word? I guess make up for what was probably the most devastating loss of his career.
He's looking to even the score. We could talking trilogy down the line.
Against Conor McGregor, the biggest star in the game.
Of all combat sports.
And this is the first time we've gotten to break down either one of these guys here.
Yeah, that is true.
And I'm very excited to do so, but first, you got to do your piece.
Since it's the return of Conor McGregor, I'm going to go over Conor's resume first, even though he's fighting out of the blue corner.
Okay.
So similar to the last fight with Chandler. Conor McGregor is the number 4 ranked lightweight in the world. He's coming in with a 22-win, 4-loss record, 19 KO TKOs, 1 submission, 20 out of 22 via finish. 10 wins, 2 losses in the UFC. Wins over Max Holloway via decision. A TKO of Dustin Poirier in that first fight back in 2014. TKO Dennis Seaver. That was to get the interim title shot. And that was against Chad Mendez, where he also got a TKO finish. Then, to earn the undisputed featherweight, 145-pound belt, he KO'd the featherweight king and the featherweight GOAT at that time, Jose Aldo, with one punch, 13 seconds into the bout. The fastest finish in title fight history in the UFC. Then gets a majority decision victory over Nate Diaz in one of the best fights really I've ever seen. I remember sitting at B-Dubs with you and watching that fight.
That was the first. That was the first pay-per-view we watched at B-Dubs.
Yep. Probably the first time we ever talked about a podcast, to be honest with you.
I think you're right.
Then he TKO'd Eddie Alvarez to become the two-weight world champion, the first simultaneous two-weight UFC champion at 145, and then this one at 155 pounds. And then his win last year in January of 2020 via TKO over Donald Cowboy Cerrone. Those two losses in the UFC have came to Nate Diaz. When he bumped up to fight him on short notice, he lost that via submission. That was at 170 pounds. And then in the world title fight that the entire globe tuned in for, Conor McGregor, Khabib Nurmagomedov got submitted in the fourth round via rear naked choke. 14 of his 20 finishes have came in the first round. And like I said, the first simultaneous two-weight UFC champion. In the red corner, the number 2 ranked lightweight in the world, Dustin the Diamond Poirier, 26 wins, 6 losses, 12 KO TKOs, 7 submissions, 18-5 with 1 no contest in the UFC. Wins over Max Holloway not once but twice. Once via submission back at featherweight, then a unanimous decision victory. That was for the interim lightweight belt. KO Diego Ferreira, which I did not know until doing my studying, and now he's a top 10 lightweight in the world right now. That's looking better and better by the day. TKO'd Yancy Medeiros, KO'd Bobby King Green, majority decision over Jim Miller, submitted Anthony Pettis, got a TKO over Justin Gaethje, TKO'd Eddie Alvarez, and then last year, that Fight of the Year candidate with Dan Hooker won that via unanimous decision. His notable losses, the Korean Zombie, way back in the day, via submission, lost a decision to Cub Swanson, got TKO'd by Conor, as we already mentioned, got KO'd by Michael Johnson, and then in his world title fight with Khabib to unify the belt, Khabib submitted Dustin in round number 3 with another rear naked choke. 12 of his 19 finishes have came in the first round, and as I mentioned, the former interim lightweight champion of the world.
Both these guys have had such different paths to this point.
Yeah.
Conor was essentially the chosen one from day one. He looked phenomenal at featherweight, and there's no further proof of where the talent discrepancy was at that time than in their first fight.
Yeah.
Conor essentially was skyrocketed into that title fight where he continuously overcame the naysayers. He beat Chad Mendes. They said, it's just going to take a wrestler to beat him. After some early trouble, starches Chad Mendes. Yep. Then they said, well, okay, this has all been fun, but he ain't beating the king of Rio. He ain't beating the king of featherweight, Jose Aldo. Knocks him out in 13 seconds.
One punch. The first punch that landed in the entire fight.
Then his first loss in the UFC coming to Nate Diaz, a fight that was taken on short notice. He was originally supposed to fight RDA for the lightweight belt, and that was supposed to be him trying to become champ. Yeah. RDA has to pull out, insert Nate Diaz. They fight at 170 pounds. Conor gets visibly tired.
Oh, yeah.
After throwing a lot of shots at Nate, and Nate just so kind of ate through him, and Conor ends up trying to shoot for a takedown.
Yeah, that's when you knew, oh, damn.
And Nate finishing the fight via rear naked choke. But then he comes back in the rematch and chooses to do it at 170 pounds again. And I went back and watched the fight more recently. Conor won that fight.
Yeah, I agree.
3-2. When I was in that B-Dubs, I was definitely thinking that it was a lot closer than it was. It's still a very close fight, but to me it was very clear. 3-2. Conor he showed a lot more in that fight than I think people give him credit for. And then obviously after that, his defining performance, I think it's more of a statement of how good he is than even the Jose Aldo knockout, was that performance over Eddie Alvarez at UFC 205.
That was one of the best title performances ever.
And really, once he was crowned the first ever champ,
that was
simultaneous to.
That was where he became global, international megastar.
That was him being. That was the range.
Yeah.
The world is yours now.
Yeah, that was it.
Dustin Poirier, on the other hand, has had a much longer road, a much tougher road,
and a much just less looked upon, underrated, just sitting back.
He's really had to kind of scratch and claw his way to everything he's gotten.
Yep.
Not that Conor hasn't, but Conor seemed to just always have that ability from day one. Dustin really had to find himself a lot
after that loss to Conor.
I mean, if you even go before that, I mean, he was in the WEC, had a pretty decent run there, comes to the UFC, lost to Korean Zombie via submission. That was a fight where he threw so much at Korean Zombie, and that was a testament to
Korean Zombie.
Zombie just kept coming. You could tell it just like deflated him. It's like, what else can I do here?
Yeah.
Bounces back with the win over Jonathan Brookins, but then loses a decision to Cub Swanson, another tough guy. Then he wins 3 straight. Eric Koch, Diego Brandao, Akira Khorasani. Then he runs into Conor McGregor. So you see where I'm getting at here. He constantly is like getting to... It's kind of like I've said similar things about our main event from Wednesday, Chiesa Magny. It's like when he got to that point where it was like, okay, if you pass this hump, you're established, you're legit. He faltered. And not even just a little bit, like kind of faltered in a big way. That McGregor fight was particularly a bit embarrassing for him.
Yeah.
Then he goes on another big win streak. Diego Ferreira, Yancy Medeiros, Joseph Duffy, who was before Habib.
Yeah, he submitted Conor in Cage Warriors.
Yeah, so he was Conor McGregor's only loss when he came to the UFC.
Also via submission, by the way. Or Conor, anyway.
And then he beat Bobby Green. Again, biggest win streak of his career, right?
And this is the switch over, by the way, to 155 as well.
But then he gets knocked out by Michael Johnson very quickly into the fight. And then after that's where he kind of just dug deep, right?
6 in a row. And
obviously reaching that interim title belt, I know that was huge for him. And I know he lost to Habib when they were going to unify the belt. But this road for him has been so... Even though they're both here now, they both started at similar times in the UFC. They both have fought... I mean, Dustin's fought more in the UFC, but they're both here at the top now. But it just seems like Dustin's road has been a lot longer.
Yeah.
And then if you look at what happened to Conor after the Eddie Alvarez fight, he goes and fights Floyd Mayweather in a boxing fight, one of the biggest pay-per-views of all time. We don't see him for 2 years.
He's fought twice in the last 4 years in the UFC.
And then he comes back and very weird build to the whole Habib fight.
Yeah, just...
Didn't look like the same guy.
No.
And then, obviously, he looked fantastic against Donald Cerrone.
Yeah, so, and they fought in 2014. So since that fight, Conor has went 6-2. And then for Dustin, he had went 10-2 with 1 no contest. So you see the activity more for Dustin, as we just mentioned. And you look at the competition. I mean, they both have fought world-class guys since that fight as well. So I wouldn't dig too much into that, but it's just kind of that stat to throw out there and just show that's what we've seen with Conor. He went from being the most active guy on the roster to this guy that just became a superstar and, was just able to pick and choose what he wanted to do, and he had the UFC by the balls, quite frankly, Yeah. And for Dustin, he had to scratch, claw, fight every top-tier guy to earn that interim belt, you know?
And I don't want to act like Conor's just been handed everything, because he really hasn't.
He earned that shit.
I mean, he earned being the biggest star in the world. It's just once he got to that level.
It was after the Jose Aldo fight is where he began to be able to, I'm going to do this. Right. And you're going to say, okay.
So, the question here, there's a few, because I've been hearing a lot about, how much better is Dustin Poirier from their first fight?
Yeah.
But it's also,
how much
I think it's very obvious that Dustin Poirier is a better fighter now. He's better at lightweight than he was at featherweight. And he's just older, more mature fighter. He's grown. But you can say the same for Conor, too.
Yeah, no one seems to be mentioning that, which is odd.
To me, it's obvious that Conor
is better
now than he was when he beat Poirier.
I mean,
you look at the activity difference and you go, okay, is Poirier at this point surpassed Conor McGregor? Has those years of hustle of fighting every top contender while Conor was maybe boxing or retired or throwing a dolly at a bus or whatever it might be. Was it like that quote that I remember I used to like when I was in high school football, where it's like, if you're not getting better, or no, it's now I'm gonna fuck this up.
You can find
it's basically when you're like asleep or when you're not getting better, someone else is getting better than you.
Right.
That was essentially, and not verbatim, the quote. That's the question here in my eyes. So I'm curious what you think.
I sat in my reclining chair last night, Noah, and I just stared at the wall for like 10, 15 minutes, playing out this fight in my head over and over. It's as if I was about to get into the octagon. It was kind of strange. Just all the possibilities here. So, in my head, I think Conor said he's going to get Dustin out of there in 60 seconds. So I attacked that first. So I'm in my head like, I don't doubt that Conor can. He has out-of-this-world power. We understand that.
You guys saw how good Max Holloway's boxing was. Conor McGregor might be a better boxer if you're talking in the UFC. And look at what Max Holloway just did.
Yeah. So I look at this point, and I'm like, okay. Can he? Yes. But Dustin has been hit by some motherfuckers. Yeah. And not even been dropped, man. You look at the Hooker fight. You look at a guy like Justin Gaethje. He went into the 4th round with Gaethje. Never got dropped by Gaethje. Gaethje puts people to sleep with a punch. You look at guys like Eddie Alvarez. He's no slouch with the power. And Dustin dominated their second fight. The first one was that no contest. And, a guy like Max, that was a 5-round war. And granted, he was bigger than Max. It was Max coming up to 155. He still got hit a shit ton. And just ate it and kept going. Won that fight 4 rounds to 1. So I think Dustin's going to be able to survive the onslaught. Because an onslaught's coming.
Yeah.
That first minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, Conor's coming.
There's a lot, even though it was very quick, there's a lot you can take away from Conor's performance against Cerrone. Yeah. Look at how he shot out like a cannon.
Yeah. But I think Dustin's going to be able to survive. He may get rocked. I'm not doubting it. He's going to get hit. But I think he's going to be able to survive. And this is where it gets fun. So now I play scenarios in my head. If this goes 5 rounds, is Conor going to be able to beat Dustin over 5 rounds? I don't like the story that Conor gasses when the fight goes on. Now, against Nate, he gassed. That was his first fight at 170. He wasn't used to it. A short notice. I don't buy much into that. Habib, I personally thought he gassed out in that fight pretty hard.
Yeah.
So that's the bigger one for me in terms of gassing
and then
out.
on the other end of that, the second Nate fight.
Exactly.
He won round 5, I believe.
Yeah, he gassed in round 3.
It was round 3
but then he has
4.
like a resurgence.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere and looks great. So I don't want to buy too much into that whole, I don't want to call it like a myth, but it's just, I think it's outplayed.
It's detractors. People,
they're looking for something.
They're giving Conor's giving him a lot of reasons to not like him.
Yeah.
And that's just something from his fight performances that you can say. That and they act like his wrestling isn't good or whatever. Both of them, not exactly true.
Yeah. So I'm in my head like, okay, is Conor going to be able to pull out a decision over Dustin? Especially after the fight we just saw Dustin and Hooker that went, all the way, and all these just wars that Dustin's been in. Is Dustin going to be able to finish Conor? This is the other thing that I kind of attacked, and I'm like, ugh. Conor doesn't get KO TKO'd.
Right.
He's been submitted. I think all 4 of his losses are via submission, or 3 out of the 4 for sure are. But it's like, Dustin, I don't think is going to try and get this fight to the ground. I don't think he's going to try and submit Conor. I don't see that happening. I see this being a stand-up war. So those are all the scenarios here, and I'm just like, okay, I have to pick somebody to win.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here like, I can't just not pick a winner. So I'm picking a draw. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I am going, and this is, listen, I love Dustin. Everybody loves Dustin. I love Conor because of how historical he is. I got a fucking picture of Conor sitting on my wall right here next to us. But I'm going to do it, Noah. I'm going to do it. Dustin Poirier is going to survive the early onslaught, and they're going to battle rounds 2, rounds 3, rounds 4, and round number 5. And Dustin is going to be able to turn that tide. And I'm going with a decision victory.
Wow.
For Dustin the Diamond Poirier.
Very
Whether that
ballsy.
be unanimous, 3 rounds to 2, or even a split where one sees it for McGregor. That's what I went with. I'm going to let you dig, because I just went on a very long spiel.
Truthfully, that's a very good pick. I think a lot of people, the odd makers, they're sleeping on Dustin in this fight. I get it. Conor won the first fight very easily. Dustin's just so much better now. It's a new weight class. He's so much better at lightweight. He's been so much more active. I totally agree with all those points. However,
there's a but, yeah.
you know, it's just... Here's the thing. I truly think that this fight's going to be stand-up only.
Yeah.
And I just think that Conor McGregor is another level when you're talking boxing. And really, there's so much that goes into a Conor fight when you're taking that on, that there's... Even if you saw the post or the press conference today, how respectful it wasn't a lot of that mental warfare. The mental warfare is taking the fight in the first place. Conor knows he doesn't have to do all
he had Jose Aldo beat a month before the fight.
Well, I'm saying even if you go after that, if you go after the Eddie Alvarez fight, after the Khabib fight, if you look at the Donald Cerrone fight, how respectful he was. But there is just something about when you take on Conor McGregor, when all eyes are on you, all the pressure's on you. This is your biggest fight, your biggest moment. And you saw with Cerrone, he wasn't able to live up to that. He kind of cracked under that pressure. I don't think this fight goes under 60 seconds. I don't think that it's quicker than their first fight. I think that you're going to see a first round that's very, I would even say, back and forth. I think McGregor will have the advantage. I think he'll be landing the harder shots, but I think Dustin will have his moments. However, I'm going with a round 2 TKO KO for Conor McGregor. I think it'll be a admirable effort from Poirier. I just think that the lights might be too bright, and overall, when you're talking stand-up, I just think Conor McGregor is another level, and even just stepping in the cage with him is like a mental warfare in itself. Mm-hmm. And I just don't know if all those factors Poirier can truly overcome. We'll see, though.
Yeah.
You do make a good point, especially at lightweight, outside of maybe Michael Johnson, the guy's really been hard to put away.
Yeah.
And
it really is tough. It's tough.
Mm-hmm. But overall, I'm very excited for this fight.
Oh, yeah.
No matter
you
how long
can't not
it goes.
be excited.
And that was your fight of the night pick, right?
Oh, yeah. Therefore, yes, that is my fight of the night with my prediction of 5 rounds. Yeah.
This is going to be a huge card. This is going to be a huge fight. And I don't think Poirier, by losing this, if it goes the way I think it does, I don't think it puts him back too far. I mean, again, it's Conor McGregor. It's, we know how good he is. And no matter what the detractors say, he is one of the best in the world still in my eyes. And until he shows me he isn't, especially now, he looks re-motivated, re-energized. He looks in much better shape than he's ever been in.
He said big things are coming. He said this performance is going to be...
And maybe call me crazy because this guy, a lot of times he's kind of like that snake oil salesman where he's like, just whatever you can say to promote a fight, right? He said a lot of similar things in that first Khabib fight, but now he lost and he goes back and says that, my foot was a balloon and all this stuff. However, I am going to buy in here and say that McGregor is back and that he is better than when he left the first time.
We're going to have a lot to recap here come Monday, regardless of the result, especially of these two co-main and main event, because these are vital, of the utmost importance in this lightweight division right now.
Yeah. But we're going to leave it there. That is our preview of UFC 257. Dom, what time are these fights starting on Saturday?
Prelims, I believe, are 7 p.m. East Coast, and then as always, or usually anyway, the main card, the pay-per-view, is at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard, ESPN+.
Mm-hmm. And pay-per-view $70.
Yeah, they bumped it up starting this year.
So
$70,
that hurts a little
bit.
But what a huge card to start that on. So
yeah,
we'll be shutting it out.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
But check out these fights. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think of our preview. Give us your predictions for the fight. But with that being said, Dominic Salee, before I let you take over with your social media plugs, the rest of the week or next week.
Yeah, true.
Monday, we're going to be recapping all the action that happened Saturday night. We'll talk about all these fights we just previewed in detail. And Wednesday, Saturday's going to be big.
Yeah.
Because we're doing the state of Conor
McGregor.
And we truly don't know what direction that video is going to go yet because Saturday hasn't happened. So be on the lookout for both of those. But again, until then, Dominic Salee, tell the good people where they can find you on social media.
On Twitter, on Instagram, at DSalee14. Find the podcast on Twitter, on Instagram, at BAJ_MMA podcast.
And as for me, if you go to my bio on Twitter or Instagram, at ntbaker_, you'll be taken to our link tree, which gives you the links to all the platforms that the podcast is on, along with the social media platforms. That includes the Twitter, the Instagram, the YouTube channel, and Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. It's all on there, baby. And there's a couple links for the Anchor page. First, leaving a voice message. Shout out Tyler again.
Yes, absolutely. Paving the way. Yeah, pioneer.
Something we want to hit hard in 2021. If you would like to have your voice shown on the podcast like Tyler's was, all you have to do is go to that link, and you can record up to 60 seconds. You can talk about reacting to a fight, previewing a fight. Do you have a video idea? Do you just want to say hi? Do you want to tell us we fucking suck? You do it there. And there's a link if you want to become a supporter of the podcast. That just provides with a few dollars a month. All that money goes back into improving the quality of the podcast, whether it be audio equipment or down the line doing a video podcast. So again, you can find all of that if you go to my bio on Twitter or Instagram at ntbaker_. But with that, we're out. We'll see y'all on